Bigfoot, a 50-year journey come full circle. Written by Dr. Matthew A. Johnson. I'm Willie Rose, and this is the reading of the book. We are at chapter 14, Clarifying My Intentions. It took me 13 years before I was willing to camp and sleep out in the woods all by myself without another human being with me. I never counted bringing Grady along with me as being by myself. Yes, he's a young boy, but he was still there with me. Grady was another person to interact with and distract myself from my ongoing fears of what I didn't know about the Bigfoot forest people. For some silly reason, I believed in my mind that the Bigfoot forest people would never attack me if I had my son along with me. Also, I thought that they would never attack me if I had Maggie with me. Who's Maggie, you asked? Maggie is my nickname for my .44 Magnum handgun that I've always carried into the woods with me. I always brought Maggie along with me just in case I ran into a bear, cougar, wolves, or stupid human beings. I mainly feared running into stupid human beings. I didn't ever want to get caught up in some kind of deliverance movie scenario with one or more crazy men in the woods. I figured that I would simply cap their asses if anyone ever threatened my family, friends, or myself. Fortunately, I've run into none of the above. I was never threatened by any animal or human in Soha. Finally, there I was in the Soha base camp, setting up the area for my first solo trip. Dr. William York, who always hiked far away from the established base camp to sleep alone at night, would have been proud of me. I was all alone except for my 7-pound toy fox terrier, Atlas. He was my eyes and ears for anything trying to sneak up on me when I had my back turned or was simply being distracted by other activities. After I had rung the large cowbell, set up the tent, chairs, bins, tables, and other items, Atlas and I took a hike in the woods. I wanted to see if the Bigfoot forest people had created any other large and noticeable tree structures. Nope. Didn't find anything. However, Atlas and I most certainly enjoyed the refreshing walk through the beautiful woods. Later that night, I started a campfire and was kicking back in my chair. I had strategically placed my chair with my back against the Suburban so nothing could sneak up from behind me. As usual, Atlas was sitting on my lap. Around 10 p.m. at night, the local Bigfoot forest people families started to arrive at the Soha base camp area and position themselves around the perimeter. They all seemed to have their favorite spots that they would occupy more often than not when they were visiting. Eventually, I could hear them make their way from the edge of the perimeter and head over to the gifting bowls that were located about 150 feet away from camp. Occasionally, I could hear them out by the bowls talking to one another. I would imagine them passing the gifting bowls around while they were snacking and talking. Although I couldn't understand their language, every once in a while I could tell it was the adult male or adult female or one of the kids talking. Around midnight, I was contemplating peeing in the designated area on the perimeter one last time and then crawling into my tent to go to bed. Well, right at that moment, I suddenly heard very heavy and loud bipedal steps come running from the gifting bowl area toward the base camp. My heart began to beat very fast, my adrenaline kicked in full force, and I was scared to death. The running sounded very aggressive. I thought I was going to see one of the Bigfoot forest people run straight into the Soha base camp. I seriously thought I was going to die up there on the mountain. However, at the last moment, the adolescent male veered off to my right, his left, and stood behind the bushes at the trailhead. He just stood there watching me as I continued to sit there in my chair with my back against the Suburban. I eventually calmed down and said hello to him. After a few more minutes, he turned and walked back to the gifting bowl area. The fact that my adrenaline just got jacked up to full throttle made me not so tired at the moment. I stayed awake for another hour and played some music on my MP3 player, which I had hooked up to my portable Bose speaker. I knew that they loved the music, and quite frankly, I needed to listen to it as well so I could calm down. Afterwards, I returned to my chair and started talking with the family members who had now returned to the perimeter of the base camp. I explained to them that I was there because I wanted to be their friend. I told them that I was grateful to them for allowing me to be there with them. Atlas, who was sleeping on my lap, lifted his head up and looked over toward the 3 o'clock position. He cocked his head and looked as if someone was talking to him. I heard absolutely nothing. He stood up on my lap, and his little tail started wagging 1,000,000 miles per hour. Suddenly, he jumped off of my lap and ran straight over to the 3 o'clock position with his tail still wagging. He ran into the brush and trees and into the dark. I was desperately calling out his name. Atlas, Atlas, get back here. Atlas, come here, boy. Come on, Atlas, come here now. Well, normally he would come back to me if I called him like that, but he didn't. I began to fear that I was going to hear him scream and see his little legs being tossed back into the base camp. A couple minutes later, Atlas came back into camp with his tail still wagging 1,000,000 miles per hour. He was as happy as he had ever been, and he looked like he just spent several minutes with his best friend. I thought to myself, what the heck? They can mind speak with dogs too? Wow! They obviously were calling him out of the base camp to come visit with them. After that, I didn't worry any longer when he would act like someone was calling him and he would run out into the brush and trees and the dark. The following day, I went off the mountain and spent the day with my son Grady. He lives with his mother in Grants Pass, Oregon. After a fun day of playing with Grady, I returned to the Soha base camp. Along the way, I had stopped at the Albertsons grocery store to purchase some peanut butter, wheat bread, raspberry jam, and other goodies for the Bigfoot forest people, as well as some goodies for me, too. Upon my arrival to base camp, I quickly made the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, put them in the cleaned-out gifting bowls, and delivered them to the gifting spot just before the sun set. Yes, I sang Row, Row, Row Your Boat to them twice and then whistled the tune as I delivered the goodies. I took the before picture and then returned to the base camp. Once in the Soha base camp, I relaxed in my chair with my back against the Suburban. I snacked on some of my goodies and gave Atlas some dog treats, too. Eventually, I got up and walked around the campfire in the center of the base camp while I played my music to the local family. I would sit down and rest, snack again, and talk to them from my position of safety. Then I would stand up again, throw a couple logs on the fire, and play some more music. At bedtime, I would routinely pull up the same song on my MP3 player and play it before I would go to sleep. Guess what the song was? Yep, you're right. Row, row, row your boat. I would play the song and then sing it to them. I would thank them for allowing me to be in their home and remind them that I wanted to be their friend. As the fire was dying down, both Atlas and I crawled into the tent and fell fast asleep. Around 3 a.m., I woke up from a sound sleep. I could see that the fire had burned itself out and it was pitch dark outside. Surprisingly, I heard some heavy-footed bipedal steps approach the right side of my tent. I slowly reached for my gun, which was on the floor to my right side. I had my hand on the gun and my finger on the trigger. Then I clearly heard mine speak inside my head. "Take your hand off the gun." I removed my hand. The steps came closer to my tent. I slowly reached for my gun again. Then I heard again, "Take your hand off the gun." I complied and put my right hand back inside of my sleeping bag. The adolescent male Bigfoot forest person began the process of zapping me. I felt my body relax and become immobilized. My mind was clear and alert. Although I was comfortable, Atlas was not so comfortable. He was inside my sleeping bag, digging a hole through the left side of my chest, and I couldn't do anything about it. After a short period of time, he stopped and lay down beside me in my sleeping bag. The adolescent male accessed my memories from earlier in the day while I was shopping at the Albertsons store. He showed me grabbing the peanut butter, the raspberry jam, and the wheat bread off of the store shelves and paying for it. Then he showed me washing the gifting bowls while wearing the surgical gloves, making the sandwiches, putting the goodies inside the bowls, and then placing the gifting bowls outside of camp in their designated spot right off the trail. Then he asked me a question via mind speak. "What are your intentions?" Well, that came out of left field. I didn't see that one coming. Matter of fact, as I laid there thinking through his question, I became frustrated. Seriously? I've been out here for several years doing the same thing over and over and over again. I've constantly told you guys my name and that I wanted to be your friend. I've consistently been leaving food for you and playing music for all of you, and you're asking me what my intentions are? Well, I didn't answer him. I thought my actions clearly spoke about what my intentions were. I guess I frustrated him too, like he was frustrating me. He decided to run me through the same exact memories for a second time. He showed me grabbing the peanut butter, the raspberry jam, and the wheat bread off of the store shelves and paying for it. Then he showed me washing the gifting bowls while wearing the surgical gloves, making the sandwiches, putting the goodies inside the bowls, and then placing the gifting bowls outside of camp in their designated spot right off the trail. Then he asked me the same exact question again via mind speak. What are your intentions? Well, I could be just as stubborn as him. I laid there saying nothing. Once again, I thought that my consistent behaviors spoke clearly as to what my intentions have been over the years. I've clearly told them what my intentions were while standing up in base camp and addressing them while they stood behind the bushes and trees. Why on God's green earth was he asking me such a silly question? Well, the adolescent male Bigfoot forest person proved to be more stubborn than me. Guess what? Yep, he ran me through the same dang memories for a third time. He showed me grabbing the peanut butter, the raspberry jam, and the wheat bread off of the store shelves and paying for it. Then he showed me washing the gifting bowls while wearing the surgical gloves, making the sandwiches, putting the goodies inside the bowls, and then placing the gifting bowls outside of camp in their designated spot right off the trail. Then he asked me the same exact question for a third time via MindSpeak. What are your intentions? I felt and heard myself let out a frustrated sigh in my mind, and I finally answered his question. To earn your trust and friendship. He immediately responded, "Thank you." Now, I'm going to try and do my best to help you comprehend what happened at that exact moment in time. You see, I didn't just hear him respond, "Thank you." I actually felt his emotions behind his expression of thank you. That's right. I felt his emotions. They were not my emotions. They were most definitely his emotions. He was very happy, really happy. I even felt him let his guard down and felt him bond emotionally to me. Suddenly, we were connected. We had a male bonding moment. We became close friends. He stopped the zapping process, and I shot back up to a 10 while he walked away from the Soha base camp. I laid there in the pitch dark, totally elated. I was so happy to have heard and felt his thank you. I liken that experience to watching an episode of Star Trek and seeing Spock engage in a Vulcan mind meld. The viewers watched Spock connect telepathically with his subject and read their mind and go through their memories. However, he could also feel their emotions. That's exactly what I experienced with the adolescent male. We were telepathically connected, and I heard his thoughts and felt his emotions. I also felt his affection toward me. I knew that I no longer ever had to reach for my gun. My fear was gone. In the end, I was grateful that he was more stubborn than I was. Starting from that day forward, things started getting wildly crazy at Soha. I'm talking exponentially off the charts. They started coming to the edge of the base camp and would show themselves much more often. Occasionally, they would breach the perimeter, step inside the base camp area, stand there for a minute or two, and then walk back out of the camp. I was looking forward to seeing where all of this was going to go. The rabbit hole just got way deeper. That's the end of chapter 14. And we go on to chapter 15, Come Out and Play in the Dark. You're listening to the book Reading of Bigfoot, A 50-Year Journey Come Full Circle by Dr. Matthew A. Johnson. I'm Willie Rose.